Carolyn Leiloglou. Again, if you didn't see this, it's Leiloglou, and that will help you find my website. If you can remember this little visual, that can help you spell my last name. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and thank you to those of you who are watching the replay. I live in San Antonio, Texas. My stories and poems have been published in over a dozen children's magazines around the world, including Highlights, Ladybug, and the Children's Magazine in Australia. I was a finalist for the 2018 Catherine Patterson Prize, and I'm here to tell you about my debut picture book, Library's Most Wanted, illustrated by Sarah Pogue and published by Pelican in 2020. 2020 was definitely a surreal time to have a picture book about libraries come out when all libraries were basically closed. And I can't imagine how challenging this time has been for those of you who are librarians and teachers, but you guys have done a great job in pivoting and helping people still have access to books. So thank you so much for that. Consider Library's Most Wanted my little love letter to you. Here's the story. Libby longs to be a great librarian. So when she decides the other kids are book vandals, she creates wanted posters to run them right out of the library. But when she realizes a librarian's real job isn't protecting the books so much as connecting them with readers, Libby must find a way to round the kids back up and bring them back to the library. There are a ton of ways that you could use Library's Most Wanted in your library or classroom. It's a great jumping off place for talking about the library. If you're a school librarian or even a librarian in charge of story time, you could have kids coming back next year to the library who haven't been in a year or even ever, and they may be wondering what to expect. Is the librarian there just looking for me to break a rule that I don't even know about? Is she there to help me find books? Do I have to be super quiet? Am I allowed to take books off the book display, or will that get me in trouble? How do I find books I like? I mean, I even had those kinds of questions as a kid, and I was a shy kid and it's hard to talk about them. So this is a great way to introduce those topics and start a discussion with the kids in your library or class. You can also use it to discuss how we should treat books. Libby gets frustrated when the kids dog-ear the pages, accidentally spill food on books, or worst of all, color in them. And she's not wrong, but a lot of kids don't really understand the concept of communal property. And ask kids if they would get frustrated if someone treated their things that way, and what they think would eventually happen to the library books if people don't bother to take care of them. Kids are smart and they have all sorts of great ideas about these things. Libby isn't wrong to want to take care of the books. She's just wrong in the way that she goes about it. Library's Most Wanted is also a great book for engaging social emotional learning. The big one in Library's Most Wanted is Libby has to learn to value people more than things. But you could also bring up issues like kindness, forgiveness, and even cancel culture. Libby never actually apologizes. Sometimes when you're writing a book that doesn't really fit well as a story, but ask kids what they think about that. Is that okay that she doesn't? What would they have done in her shoes or in the other kids' shoes? There's also a variety of history and even nature connections in Library's Most Wanted. Of course, the wanted posters, also famous cowboys and cowgirls like Annie Oakley, who is referenced in the illustrations. Law in the Wild West. I have this cool deputy marshal badge that I can show kids on school visits, either virtual or in person. This is a replica, not the real thing. Also tumbleweed and cactus and how they're adapted to their environments. And just like Libby, they tend to be a little prickly. I do have a tumbleweed behind me to show kids. And it's interesting when you look at pictures of them, they're actually really beautiful when they're growing. But these are not running around San Antonio blowing around. I actually ordered this one from eBay, believe it or not. So I'm available for school visits, both virtual and in person, and I can address all these topics and more. I also have a variety of resources that y'all can use. They're downloadable for free on my website, including a create your own wanted poster activity, a word search, and a coloring sheet. And that can be found at carolynleiloglou.com/resources. And remember, you know how to spell Leiloglou now, right? It's just Leiloglou. If you can't remember it, you can always find me through my book review blog or on social media as House Full of Bookworms. And for those of you who are in schools that use the AR program, I do have a few F&G copies I can actually send you if you're willing to consider requesting an AR test. So if that applies to you, just send me a message through my website or social media as House Full of Bookworms. And now I'd love to share a few pages of Libraries Most Wanted with you and show you some of the illustrations. And then we'll have time for a little bit of Q&A. So here we go. Libraries Most Wanted by Carolyn Leiloglou, illustrated by Sarah Pogue. So the title page is one of my favorite illustrations that Sarah did. It's actually a wanted poster of Libby, the main character, who, you know, she believes she's in charge, but she actually misbehaves a bit too, doesn't she? All right. When Aunt Nora asked her to be deputy librarian, Libby took her job very seriously. She stink-eyed a boy returning a dog-eared novel. She pried a board book from the clutches of a gnawing toddler. And when she discovered the remains of the Wild West book display, yikes, it looks like a twister struck. These books need protecting, and by gum, I'm deputy round here. While Aunt Nora corralled the kids for story time, Libby hatched a scheme. Libby was a quick draw. Fast as a rattler, she sketched a stack of wanted posters. Slap, slap, slap. The kids gathered round. Is that a picture of me spilling juice on books? Asked Jose. I don't draw on every page, said Zoe. It's not my fault my dog chewed up a book, said Brian. It's my duty to keep these books safe, Libby told them. Cross me and I'll lasso you to a beanbag chair. Now skedaddle. We're not welcome here, said Sasha. Let's go. The kids stampeded to the playground. So you can see Libby is a little bit of a prickly character at the beginning, and she's got a little bit to learn, even though she's right in her desire to protect the books, but not in the way that she goes about it. We don't want kids to be scared of going to the library or that they're gonna break a rule. Here's one of my favorite illustrations that Sarah Pogue did, where the library is ghost town quiet and there's a tumbleweed blowing through. And then a picture of Libby when she kind of makes her realization that maybe she hasn't been quite right in the way she's been going about things.